Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Well, nice of you to join me, Mike.
Well, you know what? I can't keep up with the hours that you keep, man. You're like
Boy,
upside down on me.
I can't even keep up with my own hours, Mike. I don't know what the hell's going on over here. That's for sure.
You have to buckle up because you get another time change when you go to Manila.
Is it really?
An hour difference. It's
well, an hour. I think I
later.
Can,
so in Manila, it's already almost 2.
Well, an hour. I'm okay with an hour.
You're gonna lose another hour of sleep, right?
If I lose 5 or 6, I may be jumping out that window here in a little bit. So I'll put it like that, Mike. Now the time changes.
Get a first floor room.
It is not done well for me, Mike. That's to say the least. I'm powering through right now, though. Last night, I'm sorry, I was done. I think I got like 2-3 hours maybe a night.
You know what's going to happen though.
You're
going to get over the jet lag just in time to leave.
That's what I'm afraid of. Yeah.
Guaranteed.
That's usually, well, I would say that's usually how it works out. Although I wouldn't know, but I can't kick it, man. And but last night I did get some decent sleep. It was kind of the same thing though, where only a couple of hours, but then after about an hour, I fell back to bed for a decent amount of time, which I felt refreshed. I'm staying up late tonight, thankfully, and then I'm hoping that tomorrow's a day where I'm on schedule, Mike. So fingers crossed here, buddy.
There you go.
Yeah. How are you, man? You doing all right?
Good. Yeah, just and nothing going on in the pool world, so I'm trying to find other things to keep me busy.
No. There's no. I mean, I don't even know what we're gonna discuss today. There's just nothing going on. You're on your way out to Manila, though, right? So you're gonna be out there for the Reyes Cup, which is great.
I am. I'll be over there for the Reyes Cup, and I will miss my opportunity to see Josh there.
Oh, well, I mean, since you brought up, Josh.
How's that for a transition?
I wasn't going to bring him up. We weren't going to talk about that today. But
well, first, tell me about first day of Hanoi Open. Did you see a lot of matches? What did you see? How's the arena look?
Arena looks great. It's a little sticky in there for sure, and I hear it's going to be a little bit worse there in Manila. But it's great, man. I mean, it's talking with some of the staff today. They were saying, this is about to be expected when it comes to day one, but they anticipate crowds thickening up as the event progresses. But even for the first day, I mean, I'd say it was pretty great. I'd say like along the lines of maybe like a U.S. Open type feel. I haven't been to like a UK Open or European to know or to compare it to there, but definitely along that same line. But like I said, it's just the beginning, and that's what a lot of people were saying, that like, it's Tuesday after all. So, but no, I mean,
do you think the the way the table's playing, the stickiness and all that, that's got to help the Europeans who are playing in the Reyes Cup, right? I mean, they'll be rolling into Manila. They'll be a little bit used to conditions that the Filipinos usually figure they're stealing on when you come in cold.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. It's certainly going to help their cause. I mean, however, the number one picks on both teams, got a loss today in Aloysius and Clenty, which was a bit of surprise. But I mean, for sure they'll be in full gear. A lot of guys were already here, for the Perry, and then following that up with this event. And notables who weren't here was one Josh Filler, and we all know the story that that's been out as of about 24 hours ago. But I mean, when it comes to to Hanoi, I mean, look, everything was cool, man. I mean, there was a lot of like close matches. Jason was, in a tight one. I got to sweat some of that. Obviously, Kachi going down, Yap. But outside of that, I mean, I'd say everything was pretty much par for the course. Federer Hill. Yeah, Federer Hill. And he's kind of, he's gotten off to some rocky starts in tournaments over the last few months. But we all know what, the steam that he can put on you as the event gets rolling. And I fully expect that. He mentioned like when he was leaving Da Nang, how he was kind of stretching himself a little too thin. And I don't, it's tough because he's really focused on content and building his brand out here, and I get that. But hopefully we don't see that affect his tournament play any. But Yeah, I mean, tomorrow is another day one, right? Because of the way that the schedule shapes out. So a whole new level of players going to be out there
Yeah,
and
Jeff for
starting over.
tomorrow. Shane plays tomorrow.
Huang, Shane, those were a few guys that I kind of saw on the list, which is cool. I would say like, and my attitude kind of going into today was, it's day one. You know what I mean? Like, there's not going
Yeah,
to be a lot. And as it started to come together, um, it was like you realize that, okay, this is going to be a lot closer. There's a lot more traps here. There's a lot of guys who can play that were coming in on qualifiers, and for whatever reason, whether it's the conditions or the caliber of qualifiers or whatever, we saw a couple of big names go down. So
yeah.
I wish from like a drama standpoint, Mike, that it would be like guys who were in contention versus these guys who were already kind of pretty comfortable. But outside of that, I'd say everything was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that they do. I like this format of doing. You play 2 rounds, half the field plays 2 matches in one
Right.
day, right? And I
Yeah.
like that. I like that because you can get some upsets because now you're in the second round matches and you're still on the first day of play, right?
Right.
So you can run into some tight matches, some hiccups. You don't have to wait a day and a half to see, the second round match for these guys. So I like that. I like the way this format works. I really do.
No, as do I, and I've loved that they've kept this consistency throughout the tour, at least as it pertains to majors. And personally, from seeing like multiple sides of it, especially being at pool rooms, and we do the Lacassi tour, which can be a grind, especially that Saturday. It's like, man, I really appreciate the fact that we get out of there by 8 o'clock or so, give or take.
Yeah.
They're calling last matches at 6:30, which is cool. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely I don't mind the schedule in that regard. I think tomorrow, there's obviously going to still be some drama. It all the way will be, but it's just a matter of who, Mike. And
Yeah.
so Franco's in there. He mentions Tyler losing. He was one of the guys who I saw in the second round. Hey Ray, if you're available, we'd love to get you on here again. I forgot to reach out to you. But yeah, man, it's been a fun time though, Mike, for sure. The fans give you a lot of like enthusiasm and passion, and they're hanging around like for autographs stuff, man. It's cool.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's sports. It's like it reminds me of sport.
Anybody recognized you out there yet?
A couple of times, yeah. It was funny
Yeah.
because so yesterday, as I got a call to go back to the arena at about 6 o'clock, right? And so I mentioned this on the show, but I go over there and kind of got a bit of a heads up as far as the Josh news breaking, and
Right.
when I was told, hey, come by the venue, I kind of had a feeling it was a little more serious, and my reaction always is the same thing, Mike. When I get a call like that or whatever, I'm always thinking, what the fuck did I say? What did I do? Because I'm sure I did something. And so, but we go over there, and uh, afterwards, we were supposed to go do this like food tour thing where we're riding on the back of motor scooters, and it was going to be me, Oscar, Dez, and her brother, Carlos. And so we were going to be doing this, like we drive around Hanoi, and you would have loved it, Mike. It's like drinks and food, and you just bounce around from one place to the next and the next, and all in all, like 6 stops. And we're literally like in the car ride going over there to start the thing, and then I get a message about going back to the venue, and so I hop out of the car, and like 80 scooters are rolling by. I just hop out of the car. I call like the equivalent of, it's called Grab, but it's the equivalent of like Uber, right? Yeah. And so I called the Grab. The first vehicle was like stuck in traffic because I mean everything's just so thick at that point or that time of the day. And called another one in the car. Same thing, about 12 minutes away, and I didn't have a lot of time, so I was like, so I did it again. I canceled it and did it again. This time I did it with the motor scooter. The guy got there in a blink of an eye. I learned yesterday. So, but yeah, we go over there, and afterwards I call up Oscar and I said, "Hey, where you at? I want to go meet you." Blah blah blah. And so we go. They were like, we went to this restaurant right next to a train, and the train comes by you, and it's like this far away from your face.
People post photographs of that.
Yeah, it's
Fran's posted a few photographs from there.
It's nuts, Mike. It's nuts. And so anyway, we're leaving from there, and this guy, as we're walking out, this guy stopped Oscar, and just random guy, and we're in some random ass restaurant, like nothing to do with pool or close to a pool room or
Is
anything.
that Molina Mike?
Yeah, no, he asked Oscar first, and I'm walking away because I'm ready to get out of there. Right, my life flashed before my eyes with that train so close to my face, and so, but then afterwards, I kind of heard as I was walking away, like, "Hey, is that Molina Mike?" And Oscar came and told me the same thing, and so like, and there's been moments like that throughout the event, and you kind of expect it. I'm sure you get a lot of it going out to the pool event stuff, Mike, and but it's a different level of enthusiasm out here, Mike. You know, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, it's really cool.
Fans got a lot of love. You can tell.
Yeah, I got to. We'll have to get you a shirt that says "I'm huge in Hanoi."
Yeah, no kidding, right? No, it's like I can tell why there's so much of a pissing contest over this market, Mike, and so much
Right.
of why it's a battleground for the war that is, and this is just me being here for a couple of days and just barely scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So it's not, I haven't been to Ho Chi Minh or anything like that. And I hear that that's just as booming. And the few clubs that I've been to, Mike, it's unreal. The amount of players that are there, casual fans, the amount of tables in these rooms, Mike, is unbelievable. And it's like every one of them and it's not just like they're dumping 60 tables into some big, you know, aircraft hangar or anything. Like everything is decorated nice,
Yeah.
brick walls, like great drinks. I mean, just so many positives to take away from the mic. And it's my first time being over here, but it certainly won't be the last. Any excuse I can to come back, I will.
One thing I'd be interested to find out when you're there is to talk to some Vietnamese officials or whatever, maybe you already have, about what the Vietnamese um, Snooker and Billiard Federation is about in terms of, it's a pretty long established federation. I think it's just starting to really grow in pool. But I'm curious as to, what their involvement is. Do they sponsor players? Do they give players? Do they get government funding for players? Do they run programs to develop pool in a concerted effort? Things like that. I'd be really curious to know what the future looks like in Vietnam from a organizational standpoint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had more answers for you, Mike. But I know there was a lady who was there during the press conference, and I forgot what her
Oh
official
yeah,
title was.
yeah.
But I guess that would be the first door that I'd probably knock on if I was going down that road. I mean, it's but then I still wonder. It's like, okay, well, even if that how can I say, like, even if whoever she represents, even if they're given that stamp of approval for this, well then my question would be, well then what's going on in Ho Chi Minh that's different, right? Are there issues within the country, I guess, and
Yeah, I mean the country has to have a national federation. They may have
right.
people who run certain areas as well, but there's a national federation that would be the link to to the WPA or to the ACBS. So I think the woman there who was at the press conference was actually part of the content providers, right?
I don't remember. I know that when I heard her official title, and you guys can check it out on Matchroom Pool because they had a little screen grab of like some quotes for everyone who was there during the press conference. I haven't followed up and double checked. Okay, so that would be more. Yeah, that I don't think that would be anything that we're talking about then. Now that you mentioned that, Mike. So,
but anyway, just curious. It's interesting to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, it's a big venue, Mike. I mean, this is like a proper sporting arena. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about you're not going to like AT&T Stadium or anything, but like
Right,
it's a really big converted, what looks like gymnasium type environment. Everything's done really well there, and so I'd imagine there's obviously support from within the city and officials and things like that. But we've heard over the last couple of years, their WPA attempts as trying to, put the foot on the neck of the event. And I'm glad to see, number one, the event still go on, but number two, see the likes of like Huang here and especially after seeing his absence or lack of seeing him last year, Mike.
Well, he's made a couple of comments about how he's really kind of, taken a risk or has decided to play this side of the fence. So it sounds like he had some decisions to make relative to that national federation. I'm just
Yeah.
curious as to what he's given up to be, have his foot firmly entrenched in the World Nine Ball Tour, and that would give you some insight as to what kind of power or strength the federation has. So yeah, I mean, the federation obviously they've they were the ones who they received a ban from the ACBS earlier this year, right? That it was more involved with a carom billiard event and affected all the pros, or I think it was maybe that was Singapore, and this is more from the standpoint of promoters dealing with unsanctioned events, things like that. So the ACBS is trying to play heavy-handed with the Vietnamese Federation, as far as we know. So I'm just curious to know what be cool to try to hook up with someone from that federation.
Yeah, I did reach out to Fong and went through his manager to get a few questions, asked to him, and I know that I know there was a lot going on last year. We saw him out at the U.S. Open, and just the physical toll that it took on him, and the stress and all that, and so to see him here and kind of be relieved, but kind of not. I mean, there's still obviously this cloud hanging over the air. There's a lot of players who aren't here. Da Nang was a much tougher field than this event, and I was obviously coming over here from a fan standpoint and just my first time being here. Selfishly, I want to see the best players, and I was expecting it. I didn't expect to see the amount of players drop out, and it's been consistent. The likes of John Mora is a no-show, Anton is a no-show. But then surprisingly, guys who I thought would have been a no-show or not even entered, like Carlo Beato, he's here, and so I expect to talk with Carlo some and kind of get his side of it and see how it affects him. And
did you hear anything of John Mora? That really surprised me.
Unofficially, some off the record stuff, but I think it's along the same lines of a lot of these other guys. They want to remain in good standings. For the sake of being able to participate in events that are on the horizon, Mike, and so I think that there's this mix of player who are optimistic while at the same time they are, I think it's a false level of hope, as far as them reconciling, but they're not the WPA wasn't bluffing this time, they're following through. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the next few months play out, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot at stake. I mean, I think, some players may be gambling a little bit. I mean, if you look at the schedule, I don't know what Matchroom's first event will be next year.
Right.
But it probably wouldn't be before end of February, mid-February, end of February, right?
Right.
So
I'd guess, yeah.
Some players may think that they buying themselves a little bit of time, see if anything shakes out between now and then.
I think that's the hope, Mike. That's what I've been hearing from a couple of these guys, and maybe they're, drinking that Kool-Aid a little bit, and that side of it is safe, and it's got support, and it's what I mean, like it's where it's home for them, right? Getting that help, and so and I can't say I blame them to some extent. And then the other hand, we got everything that's been happening over the last, like I said, 24 hours or so, Mike. Where Filler fallen from the top of the mountain to now being withdrawn from the Reyes Cup, and I want to get your take on that and what you thought of that press release, Mike, and your gut reaction to it.
Obviously, the press release, it wasn't even a press release. It was just a short statement that started short and got shorter. So there were obviously something in the first one that they either didn't want to have to explain or were hoping not to get into, this inference to contractual conflict and team integrity. Those are two pretty big terms that then got kind of swept swept to the side. So I don't know if that means that in the end they had nothing to do with the decision, or they had everything to do with the decision. We're just not talking about it. So I just think that there's a
I
lot of
think I know
people.
which side I'd go on, Mike.
Well, a lot of people jumped in both feet with, well, this is they're slapping Josh on the wrist, or Josh pulled out, or it was Predator telling Josh he couldn't play, or whatever the case it is. And I think that there's a lot more to the discussion than any of those. So, you know, uh, part of this is, I saw a lot of this. So who's banning players now type of approach, which is, it's so disturbing because that's become the whole, Matchroom WPA back and forth, and the players are in the middle, and both sides sit on the side and go, "See, you guys are crooked. See, look at what you did there. That's crooked." See, they're just looking for these opportunities to jump at each other and point fingers at each other, and that's not going to get anywhere. So, but I would say that any idea that this is a ban, I mean, I don't know where people are even coming up with that, because you're talking about, for one, an independent invitational event that someone got pulled out of, okay, for whatever reason. Now, if they tell him he can't play in any more events for 6 months,
but the reason does make a bit of a difference, Mike, at least as it pertains to the fans, because it does raise some level of hypocrisy when it comes to the public.
There's a difference between punishing someone, fining someone, things like that, and a ban. Okay,
right?
Ban,
no, agreed.
Ban would tell me, okay, if he's banned, then he can't be in the Mosconi Cup. If he is banned, he can't do the, so there.
Which, as of right now, Joshua Fuller is not out of the Mosconi Cup. That is not a part of the deal as of right now.
Behind the scenes, that he's still dialed. So that, to me, ban is the wrong word. Okay, now if someone, if he's being punished for something, that's the right of the promoter, and it's an independent event. No one's stopping him from playing in an open event that I'm aware of. They haven't said he can't play in the next Matchroom Open event. They haven't said he can't play in the Mosconi Cup, things like that. So this is an isolated incident. But because it's the Reyes Cup, it's such a weird thing to me. It can't be as simple as, he didn't play in Hanoi, so we're just going to pull, money out from underneath him and kick him out of.
Which, by the way, we don't even know how much money they were getting paid for playing in the Reyes Cup, and I do know it's not the same as the Mosconi Cup.
Emily said that right at the start. She said, it's a first-time event. It's not going to be anywhere near Mosconi Cup levels of money, but it's still money, a paid trip, money, and a lot of exposure, right? So, it just, I think that what I'm really interested to know is, was there conversation between Josh and Matchroom, okay, before this announcement, or was he just told you're not playing? That, to me, makes a big difference.
What do you mean, Mike?
Well, I mean, did they have a discussion? Say, listen, for this reason, we think it's best you don't play. And if he says, okay, I agree with that, or I'm not excited about it, but I understand. I don't want to go to the Philippines. I haven't, whatever the case is. I'm not prepared for the Philippines. I wasn't prepared for Hanoi, whatever. Then, something that's semi-mutually agreed upon. If it was Matchroom making this decision and then calling Josh on the phone and telling him, here's my decision, you're not coming, unpack your bags, those to me are kind of two different things. So
I've gotten the feeling that it's the latter, Mike. And
Matchroom telling him he's not coming.
Yeah, and I mean, again, their wording that they'll use on there is very deliberate, and by design, and I understand that. But listen, anybody with half a brain can put two and two together here. You know what I mean? I don't think Josh would willingly, and I think it's you're reaching if you think it. As far as him saying, you know what, I'm gonna step out of the first Reyes Cup. I'm good. For whatever reason. That kid loves to be on that stage. That kid is made for that stage. He's made to be out there and playing in that type of environment. And a lot of the talks that I've had, while most of them were off the record, I can tell you that they very much appreciate and understand Josh for the talent that he is, and so,
Everybody
but
want to have Josh on their team. Yeah.
yeah. And so, but hopefully we can get more, more answers. I got plans to talk with Emily some more, and with the camera on, I got plans to talk with Carl as well, and Jason, and hopefully David and Carlo, and all of these guys, Mike. And I want to get their take on the event, their take on, depending on who it is, obviously on Josh. Now, when it comes to the matchroom side of things, I don't expect to get a whole lot. I'll be honest with you. But
We got
listen,
to have T-shirts made that said "I've been withdrawn."
yeah. Oh, that'd be pretty good.
That's one of the great. That's going to be the new buzzword term. And cool.
Then I'm not going to get a pass anymore, Mike. If I
been withdrawn,
yeah.
That's just such an interesting choice of words. Has been withdrawn. It's.
Which my first question would be: wait, did you withdraw him, or did he withdraw? Can we just clarify?
Obviously, they withdrew him. He's been withdrawn, right?
Yeah.
So
don't call me. I'll call you, Mike. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just gonna be really interesting going forward to see when Josh resurfaces what his response is, because he's gone radio silent for a while now.
I think that's, from what I'm hearing, that was part of the issue. Was the fact that Josh went radio silent, and you saw that.
Well, that to me tells me that he had been having reservations before the rug got pulled out. If he had been, if he's been,
of course,
if he's been non-responsive, it's not like he was sitting at home with his bags packed waiting to go to Manila. Obviously, there was trepidation and concern on his point for whatever reason about whether or not he wanted to be there, whether it's WPA reasons, whether it's predator reasons, whether it's fans.
Well, we don't know. We don't know the answer to that question.
There's something in there that has him a little bit squirmy too, right? So that's why I wondered how much of it was. I don't think, no matter how the call went down, I don't think he was blindsided, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the wording in the initial release, team integrity, and I think part of that was, from what I've been hearing, is lack of communication, and surprising lack of communication. I think they've had a pretty, open relationship and open discussion, not just with Josh, but with a number of players. And so, when it comes to Josh's response, listen, it was his responses that got him into this, mess in the first place. And he was the one that watered that dirt and made it all muddy, And so, I would say, don't go and close the door now. Let's talk about it. And I reached out to Josh. I don't know if I'm going to hear back from him. I've had a pretty good relationship with him over the last couple of years. I don't think I'm going to hear back from him when it comes to him accepting coming on the show and having a discussion. But I reached out to Predator the same way, seeing if I can get something from them on the record. WPA as well. I don't anticipate hearing from any of them. And it just, at that point, all you can do is kind of just assume. But listen, a lot. I see a comment in there from Aaron about Mickey and David, and listen, I think a lot of guys like David. Not that they don't like Josh, and David isn't Josh, but I think having David on that team is okay.
Yeah, who wouldn't want David Alcade on your team? He's a great player and a great team player and a good personality and a good guy, easy guy to deal with. So, it's interesting.
Yeah, a lot more, questions for sure that need to get answered, and hopefully we'll get at least pull back a few of those layers. Look, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody wanted. Matchroom loves the drama, and they love the twist at the end before a big event, but they don't want it to overshadow, And I think right now it's overshadowing because all the talk is of Josh, and it has been.
How can they expect it not to overshadow their event? They're the ones who put out the release.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like they could just show up the day of and say, "Hey, somebody's missing and somebody else is taking his place." I think it was. I think it was a mix of, them seeing everything that's gone on over the last couple of months, right? And then paired with, you know, that radio silent aspect of it, and them saying, well, hey, listen, they're out of time, right? Because the event's coming up. They're literally boarding a flight from here to go over there,
Right.
and so um, it's kind of one of those where you're just ripping the band-aid off, I think from a fan standpoint, obviously everybody wants to see him compete. Everybody wants to see him play. Josh would be the first pick on anyone's team. If you've got every single player playing on a Mosconi Cup style platform, Filler's going to be the first pick, or he ought to be. And you're fool if you're not taking him, because he's just built for that. And so for him not being in that event, it really is doing it a disservice. But at the same time, I'm still just as excited. I think it favors the Asians that much more, Josh not being out there from a
Yeah,
competitive
of course.
standpoint. But yeah, man, I mean, it didn't seem like, at least the conversations that I've had, that it was an easy decision to be had, you know. Um,
Sure, it wasn't. I mean, you're talking about a big box office draw, a great player, a guy that you've been very good, friendly with as a company for a number of years, and so and you hate to see any player get punished for stuff, but um, again, I go back to I'm just really curious as to the real reasons behind what happened, and because to me that plays into what's going forward. I mean, if he plays in Mosconi Cup, that to me raises even more questions about how did this random event, 10-person event in the Philippines, become this thing that you felt you had to do, right?
well, that's why I
So
like what Matt Poland had to say the other day. When it comes to it being versus the Team Asia, where it's at. Him going back, him standing in solidarity. I'm paraphrasing here, but standing in solidarity with Asian players, and I plan on attending Hanoi, and then it's been like one I don't want to say mistake, because it's his choice, right? It's not a mistake, but just one poor decision after another, And with that decision, because it is an invitational, there's consequences. And
right,
listen, you can say Josh is young, but he's not a fucking baby, And so nobody owes it to him to allow him to go and play. And whether it's an official consequence or unofficial consequence, and if you want to spin it by saying it's one thing versus another, which I'm sure that they're very savvy in how they word things, and that's part of why things were put out the way that they did. But at the end of the day, look, Josh made a choice, and as did Albin and other guys as well. But it's like I tell my daughter, man, it's like my Juliana, you'll get more in trouble with the way you handle things than the way that, like, for what you do wrong, So don't just tell the truth and do
yeah,
that going forward. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because your reaction will get you in a lot worse trouble than anything else. And
yeah.
but
I like what Matt posted here about if you're expecting to do interviews, press conferences, photo shoots, videos, things like that. I think that the
which is a real deal obligation, Mike. You know that, right? Guys have to be available.
so like I said, that's why I think that there's more to this than you didn't show up here for this tournament, so we're pulling the rug out under you, right? So I think there was more to it. I'd like one side or the other to tell me what more was involved in it, because I think that if he he has been radio silent, and you said that people there have told you that no one's been able to be in touch with him. Okay, now you're getting close to the event, and you do have media obligations, you do have press obligations, you want to know what your players are doing, what they're saying, whatever. So that didn't bode well. But again, like I said before too, that also means that he's had something in the back of his head about this event for a while, and wasn't sure how
Well,
to handle it. And said,
I don't know this, but I would
thankfully he didn't
assume.
handle it online like he usually does, which is turned out bad.
Well, I don't know this to be so, but I would guess that there was a bit of ego involved there, where he kind of thought he was untouchable, because that's the only reason why you played that game of chicken, and maybe he thinks that he was bigger than that event, and they weren't gonna they weren't going to have any consequences because he
What's
is
the game?
Josh Filler.
What's the game of chicken? I'm intentionally going to not talk to anybody, respond to anybody, anything for 3 weeks, just to show them up. I mean, what's the point?
No, I mean, for whatever reason, even if you're unsure, right, but you still want to, you're not going to say I'm pulling out, right? But you're going radio silent. You're pulling out of this event, but you don't want to pull out of the Reyes Cup because that's guaranteed money for you, right? And you've earned your way on there off of merit, and just kind of that's the route that I'm taking. I'm just gonna, stay at home and play PlayStation or whatever the hell that he's doing, or just train or whatever. You know what I mean? And I can't. I wish I had a better answer for you when it comes to the reasoning behind it, but regardless, I mean, that was a choice that he made, and I'm just assuming, but I would just think that to some extent he probably thought, I'm Josh, I can get away with it, right? No, I'm not. There's not going to be any issue because I know my spot is safe on that team, on that stage, in that exhibition, and I mean, he found out otherwise, Mike.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting situation. Like I said, I'm gonna know a lot more after I see what happens with him with Mosconi.
What do you think happens with him and Mosconi, Mike?
I don't know because I don't have anything to base what just happened on other than a bunch of innuendo and a bunch of, well, he was radio silent for 3 months, but a lot of these things don't blend together. They don't link up. So there's something missing in there to me that I don't know about. And so I'm, there's more questions than answers at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's with the vagueness of the response and then that shortened response, like you said, and look, all we can do is ask questions. And I think a lot of the answers I probably already know, but we're going to ask anyway. And it's going to be an interesting few days. And, it is all.
I'll tell you what's not going to happen. I am not going to the Mosconi Cup press conference and asking about Josh Filler because I did that a couple years ago at the press conference about Earl Strickland being yanked at the last minute. It didn't go over so well.
What did she tell you, Mike? What was her response? I remember you got your ass in hot water.
She said, "We're not talking about that. We're talking about the event."
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? I kind of thought this was a press conference, and the guy that you've been spending the last 6 weeks promoting for this event just got yanked out, but let's not talk about it. So I just jumped off the call. So one thing I'm not going to do in Manila is fall into that trap again.
What are you doing, Mike? Ask the questions. Ask the questions. Ask the questions, Mike. That's what we're here for. Look, I
ask that question.
I don't mind being that guy. That's for sure. I think it's a fine line between respecting everyone at the same time. You got a job to do, right? And so that's kind of the balance in maintaining relationships. And but it could be worse, Mike. The glass is always half full. I mean, she could tell you to fuck off live on a podcast like she did with me a couple of years ago. And so. For everyone that thinks that I'm Mr. Matchroom over here, we weren't afraid to give them a little bit of heat, and I think like they know that the questions are going to be asked. I think right now they're trying to just focus on the Hanoi Open, because it has been such a big event over the last year plus, right? Look, after the end of last year, and everything leading into it, I think it's only going to get bigger and better, personally, but I just wish we were done with all this shit right now,
Yeah, well, there's a ways to go with that because I think that window of opportunity was before Hanoi started, and so I think that the gloves are off for the time being, which is too bad. It's it sucks. A lot of these players are going to have to make decisions, and there's going to be, an AFL and an NFL. And
yeah, I mean, look, I'm curious to see what the trickle down effect is going to be like for other events. I mean, listen, there's World Cup of Pool. What's going to happen with Team Austria, right? No Lechner, no Albin, no Mario here. Are there going to be unofficial issues with them playing that event, or
You don't have to have Team Austria in there at all.
No, I know you don't, but you should. You should have Team Austria in there, given
if
their
they have players to represent.
Yeah,
if they don't have players to represent, then why would you include them?
But they're not banned right now from Matchroom. Is what I mean. Like these unofficial ways of handling things. What's going to happen with.
That's a huge question. A huge question is these guys. What is their standing in WN team rankings and tour cards, so to speak, starting January?
Well, the tour card would then pull their ability to play in these events.
Because you have to be one of those players to be picked for one of those invitational events. So January 1, what do they do with all those players as far as their standing? That's going to be, that's a question that definitely is going to be asked.
You got a guy like John and Alex, right, who weren't there at this event, and so it's just
players have missed events. That's not a
but this is a little, but like this is different though, Mike. It's not like I'm calling in sick. It's everyone knew what this meant, and players are like, you're not going to say your dog ate your homework on this one, Mike. But is there going to be any repercussions? I don't know.
Decisions based on what you think their intent is, unless someone said, I like WPA more than you. John Moore misses the Hanoi Open. It's no different than catching.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have thought that Josh is going to get withdrawn from the Reyes Cup for missing Hanoi.
Is that what happened? Did he do it?
No.
Did he get it from missing Hanoi?
No. I'm not. I don't know what the straw was that broke the camel's back, but like that's my point.
All I'm saying is at this point, everybody's kind of getting a pass on missing events. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if that changes come January. So that's what we'll have to wait and see.
So are you going to ask those questions at the press conference?
Oh yeah, that one's a hanger. I'm just not asking about Josh at the press conference.
Oh, so you're going to ask it ahead of time, but just not during the press conference. Good deal, Mike. No, it's look, it's a lot of talk because it's Josh and he's a special player. He's a special talent, and he does shift things from a number of different standpoints, right? Like I've seen people say they're not going to go here, they're not going to go there, they're not going to tune in. I still think people are going to watch in massive numbers. I'm not any less excited for the event, although, like, obviously I'd want to see it be more competitive, right? And Josh brings that factor.
Well, you still got plenty of scoreboard watching to go relative to the Mosconi Cup at this event. So,
Well, I mean, yes, it kind of seems a little flat so far, at least for me, Mike. I'm not going to lie. I think
still that third spot available for both teams. So, seeing Tyler lose the first day, that changes Oscar's perspective. That changes Sky's perspective. So I saw Billy won a Hill game match. So on the other side, I think David plays tomorrow, right?
David won twice today.
He won twice today. Mickey, I don't know if he played today or if he's playing tomorrow. So Jason's 1-2 already. So, you got some, things to watch, I think, that are still make the Mosconi Cup interesting. I mean, that's what we all talked about coming to this event.
100%, yeah. And I mean, from the European side of it, I think it opens it up a lot more. And still for the U.S., listen, a guy like Wolford's here. I don't know if Lucas is here as well. Obviously, all eyes are on, that Oscar, Tyler, and Billy race. And so I think that while there is going to be some storylines to that, I mean, players got to go deep in order to, get it at the end. Yeah. And I mean, do you expect, some players to make that run? I don't know, Mike. And so, and from the European side of it, look, it's unofficial and it's not on the record, and I haven't heard it's going to happen. But if I'm a European now, I'm thinking there's one more spot going to be opened up now, so I may have a chance. I don't know. That's just where my mindset would be going into it. You know what I mean? So,
well, no, I mean, look at it. Depends on how Matchroom plays it. I mean, okay, let's say Josh Filler is out of the Mosconi Cup. If they play it the same way as they play the Reyes Cup, the next person in line on the points list would get that spot. It wouldn't be a wild card pick.
Okay, so then Mickey would still be the 3, and then the 2 would then be opened up, so it'd go to the 4, who is who right now?
David, with David.
Yeah,
and that's how David got. That's how David got the Raiders spot.
Right, but then by default, then David would not be a wild card, so then there would still be another wild card spot opened up then, right?
Jason, yeah, you're right. There would be another wild card opened up.
Yeah. So, and then who knows where that's going to go, Mike? And so, listen, Josh not being there is it's gonna make a lot of people happy. That's for sure.
No, you can't. Yeah, I think the American fans can't wait to get to Orlando and rip him a new one. I think the American fans will be bummed out if Josh isn't in Orlando.
I know I'm going to be, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm going to be bummed if he's not there. I want to see him. I like seeing the kid play pool. I do. Yeah. And I love seeing him play, especially in that type of environment, because I think he's made for it, and he's been the anchor. He's been the leader. And now how's it going to be for a guy like Jason, where you don't have your closer coming in to relieve you. You know what I mean? You don't have the guy who is Mr. Dependable, a guy who you can feed off of. How is that going to affect the guys like Mickey or Akachi who loses the first round? So how is his form going to be going into that event, right? You're not going to have that solid, dependable guy. And that's what Josh is. Josh is he's the ace, Mike. He's the guy you're calling in to face the heat. He can face any player on Team USA without issue, and not be worried about it. And so, and if he's not there for December, Team USA all the way. America's going to get that. I'm not all the way, and I'm not going to be betting on Team USA, but it certainly changes things quite a bit.
You going to 5 the other day. Now all of a sudden you got him going to 11. That's a big swing.
7. Josh is worth at least 2 points, Mike. Maybe 8 now.
Okay.
No, but Josh is the guy. Either you love him or you love to hate him. He's like Mayweather, and you're gonna tune in no matter what because you want to watch him fall or because you just appreciate his greatness. But from the Matchroom side of it, I understand them taking a stance and making an example out of them and kind of sending that message that, hey, listen, we're in it together and no one's above anything, or above getting any kind of consequences for actions and things like that. And it also shows, how much they appreciate the guys who have gone to bat with him and who have stayed, in their camp, Mike, so to speak. And so, but, we ain't going to see Josh next week. So, or this week for that matter.
Yeah. Well, and that's, it is what it is. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Mosconi. It's going to be really interesting to find out if we ever do what really was the decision. Was it a, a point proving thing? Was it anything else that we don't know about? I mean, unless Josh or Matchroom tells me that, everything else is just innuendo. So.
Jay, you can see the bracket on WNT live scores. They'll have live scoring and also just follow the tournament play on there as well. I mean, like I said, first couple of days, usually it's mainly chalk, but there have been some surprises, and I'm sure there'll continue to be some surprises. And so make sure and tune in. I think play starts tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., so in roughly 9.5 hours from now. And look, I'm going to be there watching. I hope to see some more Cinderellas like we saw today, Mike, and that's always a great part of tournaments. And whenever you're in an Asian country, you're always going to get these guys who you don't know who they are. Maybe they can play, maybe they can't play. Maybe they're a former the 1982 world champion that you can't remember his name and just shows up and goes on a run.
Hiko Takahashi is there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mike. Yeah.
1998, he won the World Nine Ball. 1998. 26 years.
You're old, Mike.
That's 26 years ago. Yeah. He's old.
Yeah. This is why I like coming into these countries, though, Mike, because you get to see this whole new wave of unknown Filipinos, unknown Vietnamese, unknown Chinese, Taiwanese, and you can go on Google on Fargo and see where they're at, but you ain't gonna find them, but they can rob you. They can they can certainly rob you, and they're gonna spoil somebody's party, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And so it just makes tuning in just that much more fun. And look, I was in the stands today, and I'm looking around at like 3 different tables. I'm seeing Billy go Hill. I'm seeing Jason. I think it was around 8-7, 8-6, something
Yeah.
like that.
7 at the
Yeah, and just tons of stuff like that. The
Federer
Kachi
going to
matchup
the
was great.
hill.
Federer.
Yeah.
Well, I left at that time when I didn't even look at the Federer score because I just thought like, it'll be cool. And I'm in the grab, Mike, and I'm looking at the live scoring, right, just to kind of see how the 6:30 round ended up, and I see 8-8 Federer, and I'm like,
8-8.
why did I
And
leave?
he billiarded the case 9 on like the 4 ball or 5 ball.
Yeah. But who, you couldn't pick that dude out of a lineup going into the event, But that's what the event like lends itself to, just the chaos and the it's beautiful because I love Cinderellas, Mike. It's part of every single sports,
That's the case in all the Asian events when American and European players go to the big Asian events, and all of a sudden there's 96 Asian players, 80 of whom you have no idea who they are.
Right.
They all play great, whether it's in Vietnam, in the Philippines, in Taiwan, in mainland China. All these giant killers just come out there and they just all play jam up pool. They just don't get out of the country to play much. So yeah, you get not surprising to me at all that in Vietnam, with the way they're playing these days, that you're going to see some people get blindsided.
We'll have more reaction and more podcasts. I'll probably do one pregame tomorrow and kind of look over some of the matches, and it'll be evening time for you. Mike, are you going to be available the next couple of days, or what's your plans?
I'm tied up tomorrow and Friday are going to be or what is tomorrow, Wednesday? Wednesday and Thursday are going to be tough for me, and Friday because I'll be traveling. So yeah, tomorrow's going to be tough. I fly out tomorrow night, going to LA and then off to Manila. So the next couple of days are going to be kind of a scramble. But I'll keep my my eyes out for the posts and see what's coming up. If I can jump in, that'd be great. If not, I'll always listen.
Well, you let me know. You always got a spot here. If not, I'll call in the Ace Ray to come and relieve you.
He speaks a lot better than I do.
I love having him on. He's great. He's so thoughtful, in what he says, and delivers it very well. But yeah, no, we'll have more reaction coming up. We'll have more questions, and I'll get more interviews with a lot of guys. I'm hopeful that tomorrow will be a lot more productive from a content standpoint. I got a couple things today, but it was more of just feeling everybody out and taking in the event. But yeah, we'll have more shows and a lot more stuff on the page. So make sure and keep your notifications on. I'm gonna get some sleep, Mike. Hopefully, I can get some decent sleep.
Yeah, see if you can find a Vietnamese Federation official around. They got to be sitting around there someplace taking notes now on who's helping and who isn't, so they can put them on their blacklist. So there's got to be one of them around.
I'm sure I'm sure if I walked around that arena enough, you would see Aishan there with a little fake mustache on, a la Bobby Ventura. You know what I mean, Mike? And he'll be hiding out somewhere, I'm sure. So,
yeah.
But no, it's look. The event is going to have drama, in its own right. And it's going to have suspense and there's going to be stories that are going to just develop over the next couple of days. And I'm glad that I'm here and taking it all in. And I'm excited to see more fans here, so, but anyhow, thanks everybody for supporting. Thanks everyone for tuning in and hitting the like, hitting the share button. Thanks for Mike for, I would say staying up, but really I'm the one who stayed up. Mike for hopping in during lunch. Let me get you out here on this, Mike. Do you think Josh Filler is going to be on the Mosconi Cup this year?
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say no.